Alright everyone, in today's video we're going to be going over every single god roll I'm looking out for with all of the weapons that came in Renegades. Now these are going to be 90% of the weapons. The dungeon weapons and seasonal weapons I will cover at a later date, so be on the lookout for those. But in this one I'm just going to be talking about everything I'm personally looking out for to hopefully give you a better idea of what you want to look out for as well. This is going to be a long video because there are a ton of weapons, so feel free to watch this as you're doing something else or if you're trying to go to sleep, because there's going to be a lot of talking in this video. There will be timestamps in the description if you want to go to a specific weapon. I don't want to hold you off for too long, so if y'all do enjoy consider doing all the normal YouTube stuff, it really does help the channel out and I truly appreciate it. If I miss any weapons, be sure to yell at me in the comments below and I will update it in the description. But let's jump into our first weapon. All right everyone, jumping into our first set of weapons, it is going to be all about the blasters. Obviously we're Renegades themes, we're going to start off with these. This one is going to be the Compact Defender. This is going to be a void sidearm. Obviously it has the dynamic heat to it, and overall, I've played with this thing a little bit playing throughout the campaign. It's honestly a ton of fun to use. I think for PvE, destabilizing rounds is probably going to be your go-to best bet in the first column. Anything else here doesn't really matter too much. I mean, you do have obviously like cooling baubles to play into heat if that's your thing. I don't really think it's super necessary too much, but the stabilizer rounds obviously being a GOAT PvE perk, which you can then pair that with your Desperate Measures, Frenzy. Even Kill Clip is really good on these types of weapons because this moment you vent, you're going to actually be proccing Kill Clip. So it's honestly way more valuable on these types of weapons compared to just normal bullet weapons. But you even have Swashbuckler for damage perk or Pulse Brace for the classic combo and thorough atomization if you're playing into the heat. If it was me, I'm personally just going to be going for destabilized rounds and probably Kill Clip, maybe Frenzy, but Kill Clip is going to be a higher damage and it's also, again, just really easy to proc on these types of weapons. So you have a very good damage increase alongside just a very, very good ad clear option. Now, again, I don't know if anybody's going to be using this too much like an end-game PvE or anything, but if you just need a fun little sidearm, this is definitely going to be a go-to option. I definitely can see a lot of people liking this. Now for PvP, I mean, you have Rangefinder, which has gotten buffed, which is probably going to be your best option here. You even have stuff like Delicate Tuning, which can be pretty interesting. So when you're at low heat, you're going to get increases to range handling. There'll have to be some testing done on that, but that could be pretty good as well, just for like your first kill. Then you have to vent the weapon, but I could see that being pretty decent. Hipfire Grip if you're trying to do some crazy, hipfire shenanigans. Then the other column, I mean, you have Precision Instrument, which is probably going to be your go-to best perk here. Everything else is just kind of PvE related in my opinion. You could go with the combo of like Delicate Tuning and Thermal Atomization. So at high heat, you're doing, bonus damage. And then at low heat, you have all these other crazy bonuses. So you can just kind of just keep firing over and over. That could be fun. I don't think it's anything too crazy, but I think for just a solid combo, Rangefinder Precision Instrument is going to be probably your go-to option for PvP. And then again, for PvE, destabilize rounds, Kill Clip. Now moving on to the next weapon, we have the M17 Fast Talker. This is a stasis SMG. Again, it's going to be a heat weapon. And for PvE, right off the bat, you have things like Attrition Orbs, Demolitionist, Stats for All, and of course the heat perks again. And then in the next column, you have things like Target Lock. You also have Sword Logic. You also have, Crystallism, Corpse Bloom, which is a very, very good stasis perk as well. Kill Clip again, you can just start the vent immediately. Master of Arms also a pretty decent option and another heat perk. So since it is a stasis weapon, you can take Crystalline Corpse Bloom again to just make stasis shards everywhere. You can pair that with Demo if you're playing into any like sort of grenade stasis build. That could be very, very good. If you're not really doing that, you can Stats for All, it's pretty decent to get that vent speed and all the other stats as well. Attrition Orbs being one of the best perks in the game currently for almost every single PvE weapon in the game. That is also very, very good. Now, if you're trying to pair this with just like a neutral thing, you don't really want to play into Crystalline, you don't really care about anything related to crystals or anything, you could play Attrition Orbs and then this Kill Clip. That could also be a decent combo. Sword Logic, anything like that could be good. Master of Arms just for a solid damage increase. Overall, I don't think this is going to be anything too sought after in PvE. They are blasters, so they do a little bit more damage. So Attrition Orbs, Kill Clip could be decent. It doesn't have like another neutral perk baked into it with something like Attrition Orbs, which kind of sucks with this. Say something like Chaos or Shaped Kinetic Timbers, even though I know it is a stasis weapon. But it does have things like Target Lock, which, you could potentially just do a ton of damage to something like Peacekeepers. You can then pair that with Cooling Baubles. If you have a way to get elemental pickups or somebody's making a ton of orbs, you could just keep picking this up and theoretically just keep shooting forever. If you do have a way to reduce the heat, that could be pretty interesting. I'm not sure how strong that's going to be, but that could be a pretty cool combo. But yeah, I mean, everything else, like you could play into like a specific stasis setup or just try to get like a neutral thing going on. It could be decent. I'm not too crazy about it. But for PvP, on the other hand, you do have things like, you know, delicate tuning again. You also have dynamic sway reduction, killing wind if you're trying to slay out, but you can then pair that with target lock. Obviously, you know, tap the trigger. It can be decent. I think target lock in dynamic sway is probably going to be your best option here if you're trying to do some swap stuff, master arms as well. But with this combo, and again, maybe delicate tuning actually ends up being pretty solid. You can get all the, you know, crazy benefits on the first half, then target locks proc, you can get the more damage. It could be very, very good. Again, you also have thermal adaptation to kind of do the same thing there. But I think just kind of as like the neutral dynamic sway reduction target lock, probably going to be your go-to. Again, I'm not a PvP master. I'm sure there are a bunch of other PvP content creators out there that are going to talk about this a lot more. So don't be too offended by my PvP recommendations. Definitely more of a PvE guy over here. But next up, we have all or nothing. So in the first column, you know, you have Firefly, which is very, very good. You're going to get that, you know, heat cooldown with the reload speed technically, and then the explosions, cooling bobbles, you know, slice as well if you're trying to play into something like that. That's pretty much it in the first column. Second column, you have Tear. Desperado also could be pretty good. Kind of works the same way as Kill Clip. The moment you vent, you'll get the bonuses. Sword Logic, and even Hatchley, it's also pretty good. Now, right off the bat, you know, Firefly pairing that with Desperado, that's going to be solid. You get the ad clear, you're going to get the increased fire rate. You could also pair Firefly with something like Kill Clip, again, for the exact same reasons that we were talking about with the other guns. You know, you're just going to immediately get that increased reload speed or vent speed, that explosion, that damage. It's very, very good. I think Desperado probably is the more fun option, but remember, if you do take Desperado, you are going to build up heat a lot quicker because you just are shooting a lot more. But even if you wanted to just play into Hatchling, if you're trying to just do some crazy AoE with the Firefly and Hatchling, that could also be very, very good. If you're playing straight into Strand, Slice, and Tear, you just become like a severed god here. Just basically keep everything weakened. Could be a ton of fun. I don't think it's going to be anything too crazy or good, but it could be cool. But I think overall for PvE, Firefly is probably going to be your best option this first column. There's nothing else here unless you're just playing it specifically like something like Slice. It's nothing too crazy, but for ad clear, Firefly is good. And I would pair Desperado Kill Clip. Probably Kill Clip being the better option if I had to guess, but if you like Desperado, that could also be very, very good. This weapon also just looks cool. It's a ton of fun to use. I really, really like this pulse rifle. Now for PvP, on the other hand, I mean, you have Zen Moment, Perpetual Motion, Delicate Tuning again, and Slice as well, also not even that bad. Keep Weight, a bunch of great PvP perks here. Desperado if you're slaying out, Kill Clip as well if you're slaying out, Head Seeker being the classic. So overall, you really can't go wrong here. I think most people prefer Zen Moment nowadays. I know Keep Away also is a very, very good perk, but Zen Moment, Head Seeker is like the goated, you know, pulse rifle combo for PvP. It is very, very good. That could be a ton of fun. Perpetual Motion kind of gets overshadowed by like Keep Away and Zen Moment, so I really wouldn't recommend that. So for me personally, I'm probably just going Zen Moment, Head Seeker. You know, if I'm trying to slay out, I'll go Kill Clip, Desperado, but this is just going to be a very, very solid combo. Moving on to the next weapon, we have the Uncivil Discourse. This is the special ammo arc pistol. It kind of acts like Forerunner. It is a hand cannon though. So in this first column, I mean, you have things like Outlaw, which I guess could be interesting. Air Trigger to get ammo regeneration, and the reload speed, which is super, super nice. And for PvE wise, like I'm being honest, that's about it. You'd have cooling bobbles as well, but like I don't think that's anything too crazy. In the second column for PvE, I mean, you have things like Frenzy for damage, Jolty feedback, you know, Deplasm Jolt, Desperate Measures as well. And then, of course, also thermal atomization. For PvE, I'm not exactly sure. Like, there's nothing too crazy here. If I'm being completely honest, I think Air Trigger might be the best bet just to get that ammo regeneration. Plus, you know, when you're jumping in the air, you also get that bonus as well. But if that's not your thing, I mean, you could go with Outlaw, but I think Air Trigger probably is just the better Outlaw because you do get ammo regeneration. But overall, I mean, it's probably going to be your best bet if I had to guess. And then in the second column, I mean, you could go with any damage perk, Jolty feedback probably being the most unique thing here because it is a arc weapon. Even Precision Instrument, honestly, is not too terrible. I imagine Precision Instrument, pair that with like Lucky Pants. This could probably do some disgusting things because this is coded as a hand cannon, so it should work with Lucky Pants. So this could be very, very good for damage, just getting that increased precision damage. Lucky Pants getting that increased damage. I mean, you could even just pair that with other damage increases too. Precision Instrument probably will be the best with that specific setup. So that could be goated. You get ammo regeneration, get a ton of damage, but just general play, I mean, even precision instrument's not that bad there either, just for if you're shooting at a tankier target. But, you know, frenzy for damage, just any damage perk here is going to be very, very solid. Now for PvP, I think this is where this thing is going to shine the most. I mean, you have Keep Away, you have Lone Wolf, you have Quick Draw if you're trying to swap to it faster, Delicate Tuning as well. And then in the second column, Opening Shot, Precision Instrument, All Fan Strike if you're trying to do some crazy hip fire stuff that could be pretty fun. I think most people are going to be going for something like Lone Wolf and Precision Instrument. That is like typically the go-to for most PvP weapons nowadays. Just easy damage increase, just easy stat increase as well. But I mean, Keep Away is also very good if you're trying to get that range up. That could be very, very solid too. And again, Delicate Tuning also could be good, but that's going to have some further testing, you know, dealt with it. But I think Lone Wolf Precision Instrument is probably going to be the go-to role. Opening Shot, Keep Away if you just want like crazy range for that first shot. If you're trying to snipe somebody with it, that could be a ton of fun. But again, I think Lone Wolf Precision Instrument is probably going to be the solid go-to here. Now, next up is the Refurbished A499. Now, this thing's perk pool, honestly, like, isn't the craziest thing, in my opinion, but this weapon is very, very good, though. It does a ton of damage. It is going to be like a heavy sniper rifle. So you're kind of using it for damage. So I don't think Bewildering Burst is anything too crazy, but it does have one shot, so I guess you could take advantage of that. I would not recommend gut shot because you're trying to go for precision shots. I mean, Outlaw, since you go for precision shots, isn't too bad. If you just shoot it like a major or something, you can get crazy reload speed. Really wouldn't recommend it though. You know, Snapshot, Lone Wolf, Odyssey may be your go-to options in the first column, just so you can aim down sight a little bit faster. Move a target, no distractions. Like first column, like I said, there's nothing like too crazy here. That specifically for PvE at least. But again, the gun's just so good on its own, it doesn't really matter too much. If you had to take a PvE perk, it would probably just be Outlaw, but low-key, it might be Snapshot Sights just to aim down the sight quicker, just so you can make sure you land that precision shot. But in the second column, you have Envious Assassin, so you can stack up a bunch of shots in it, which could be good. You also have Mulligan, I guess, if you're just shooting at random targets and you miss. Box Breathing, if you're really just trying to get a ton of damage, you know, aim down sight, you're going to just build up the damage, which is nice. Best perk probably going to be Aggregate Charge here, you know, for like DPS sort of situations. Auto-loading is also solid if you're just trying to shoot, throw it away, let it reload. That could be very, very good. Ambitious, kind of the same way as like Envious, it could be decent, but I don't think it's like too necessary. So for pure DPS, I think Aggregate Charge is definitely going to be your best option. If you're trying to go for like a swap thing, say something like Izzy swap with this thing, I mean, you could throw auto-loading on here. That could be very, very solid. But if you're trying to just straight up just do damage over and over again, Aggregate Charge is for sure going to be your best option here. Obviously, you're going to have a bunch of elemental debuffs on the target, but that's not too difficult to do in today's meta. And then in the first column, again, like I said, like there's basically nothing here that's like really placed into just keep shooting over and over again. Snapshot low-key probably is going to be your best option, but if you want to take anything else here, you totally could. But again, this is purely just for doing a ton of damage just over and over again with it. But if you're trying to do some swap stuff, I would probably recommend auto-loading here, just so you can, you know, just swap to it, shoot, swap off. It could be very, very good. Now for PvP, I mean, you have Lone Wolf, Snapshot. Again, probably going to be your go-to options here. Moving target, no distractions. It's not terrible. And then in the second column, I mean, Mulligan, if you miss a shot, which obviously you don't really want to be doing that in PvP, but I mean, it is there. And honestly, I think that's about it, if I'm being completely real with you. Again, like I said, there's nothing like too crazy here. The gun on its own is just already like very good. So the perk combos don't matter like crazy too much. If you're going for damage, Aggregate Charge is for sure what you want to look out for the most. And maybe auto-loading, if you got a tier 5, you get those two, and you're probably going to be set on this weapon. You don't really have to worry about anything else. I hope they continue this like archetype weapon down the line, and we could just get some even better perks on it, because this thing could be very, very strong. And next up, we have the modified Beast 7 pistol. This is going to be a stasis hand cannon. I've played around with this. Honestly, I didn't like it that much, but it does have good perks. You have things like Rapid Hit, you have Rhyme Sealer, Firefly, Demolitionist, and then you also have Headstone, you have Crystalline Corpse Plume. That's pretty much it in the second column. I mean, you do have like Thermal Atomization as well, but they really want you to play into stasis with this hand cannon. Headstone, Firefly, obviously going to be a GOAT combo here. You know, you get the explosion. It should also break the crystal as well. This could be very, very good for ad clear playing into your stasis builds, or just in general too, because I mean, double explosions for ad clear is obviously very good. Crystalline Corpse Plume, again, if you're you're really trying to play into stasis, you can pair that with Rhyme Stealer because you're going to be able to break all the crystals to get that Frost Armor, or Demo. Demo is just good in general. Kind of same thing as Rapid Hit. If you want great energy, if you want reload speed, all the other stats, those are going to be very, very good. But I think for the most part, most people are going to be looking out for Firefly Headstone with this specific setup, just to break those crystals the moment you get a kill. It kind of acts like the old competitive hand cannon that we had in the previous season with Edge of Fate. It's going to be very, very good, but it is also a blaster as well. So I guess it maybe technically a little better because they should do a little bit more damage. But overall, I think this is going to be a very, very solid, role here if you are playing into stasis. And then for PvP, I mean, you have Rapid Hit, Keep Away, also Delicate Tuning, Opening Shot, Eye of the Storm. All those are going to be very, very solid. I think if I had to choose anything, it's probably just going to be Keep Away and Eye of the Storm, just so I can make sure I really win like 1v1s at longer distances. This could be very, very good, but you're never going to go wrong with things like Opening Shot or Rapid Hit. Like those are also just very solid perks too. But that is all the current blasters. Let's now move on to Crucible weapons. And this is going to be the Peculiar Charm, which is a 4-round burst SMG, one of the first in its classes. This has some pretty good PvE perks as well. You have things like Attrition Orbs in the first column and Prop 2 Ammunition. It's also a very good perk. Rapid Hit, which could pair well with the 4-round burst thing we got going on here. Stopping Power could be interesting. This is definitely going to have some testing done with it, but on paper, it reads like it could be pretty good. Shoot to Loot also obviously being very, very good. And then the second column, you have things like Firefly. You also have All-Star, which is a new perk, which also reads, it sounds like it could be pretty good. Kinetic Tremors, it's obviously going to be probably the go-to. Master of Arms, Desperado, even Bewildering Burst, which I assume would pair well with Stopping Power. That could be very, very good. So right off the bat, I think the first one everybody's gonna be looking out for is Kinetic Tremors and Attrition Orbs. Like this is just the go-to combo for most content in the game now. This could be the replacement for Multi-Mock. I'm not exactly sure because I don't know how well a 4-round burst SMG will perform in PvE, but obviously with this perk combination here together, it's going to be very solid. It's going to have the new gear bonus as well, obviously. So, you may want to use it over Multi-Mock just because of that reason in general. But we'll have to kind of test it out. Obviously, I think this is just going to be the solid go-to perk combo most people are going to go for. But again, let's take a look at some other stuff here. You have things like Firefly if you're trying to get some ad clear stuff going on, which could be good. You can pair that with Rapid Hit, just have crazy reload speeds, especially pairing that with Firefly. Your Shoot to Loot Firefly could also be a pretty interesting combo because the Firefly explosion should be able to pick the ammo up, which can be pretty cool. You have All-Star here, so when you collect ammo, it can reload the gun from reserves, but you also get increased damage. Pairing that with Shoot to Loot, you can basically just shoot ammo around the map to get more damage. That could be pretty cool as well. On the topic of ammo, you could also do like Impromptu here just to make more ammo to proc All-Star more often. That could also be a pretty cool combo. And then, you also have like things like Desperado, Rapid Hit, just to make it shoot real quick, reload real fast, Master Arms if you just want damage. There's a bunch of cool combinations you could do. I think the Impromptu All-Star could be very, very interesting depending on how good they are. You also have Stopping Power, and Bewildering Burst could also be a very interesting combo. But I think Attrition Orbs, Kinetic Tremors is probably going to be like the go-to combo for most content in the game. But if you get a tier 5 and get all 3 of those options, that could be pretty solid too. Now for PvP, you have things like Rangefinder, which also get buffed, Rapid Hit, which could be pretty fun on the 4-round burst. Stopping Power, because you do get target acquisition and damage on loyal targets. Again, have to have some testing, but that could be pretty good. Lone Wolf obviously being very solid as well. Head Seeker could be fun with the 4-round burst. Yeah, maybe All-Star could be pretty fun. A Desperado could be decent. Master of Arms if you're trying to like swap to this, if you're running like double primary or something. All of that could be very, very good. It is also worth mentioning Kinetic Tremors could be decent if it does proc. Because I know in Multi-Mock, you can proc Kinetic Tremors in PvP and kind of further increase the range of it just because you just proc Kinetic Tremors. I absolutely love Kinetic Tremors on Multi-Mock and PvP, so that also is worth mentioning. So for me personally, I think Lone Wolf Kinetic Tremors is what I'm going to be looking out for if it does proc, how it does proc on Multi-Mock, but again, it might just not proc with the way this gun's set up. I haven't used this gun yet, so if that works, that's probably going to be looking out for. But if not, you have things like Head Seeker. That could also be very, very good. Very interesting. Rangefinder. I'm not exactly sure what I would go for most with Lone Wolf and Rangefinder. With the Rangefinder buff, maybe Rangefinder here, but Rangefinder Head Seeker is going to be goated. If you're slaying out, Desperado is also going to be very, very decent. There's a lot of good perks in here. This is going to have further playtesting, and I'm sure a bajillion of PvP content creators will talk more about this. It's going to have to just kind of see how it performs, if it's good, because it is a brand new archetype weapon. But hopefully it is good, and hopefully Attrition Orbs Kinetic Tremors will be very solid and can replace Multi-Mock in the current state of the game. And next up is going to be our good old classic Riptide. Now, this is going to be a stasis rapid fire frame. It was one of the best fusion rifles for quite a while. I mean, people still honestly use it. But now it has a new gear bonus and it has some new perks. Autoloading being a goated perk, overflow obviously also being good. Subsistence, I guess, if you're trying to use it for like ad clear, but not too crazy. Choke clip, there was the OG perk on it, which made it very, very solid. Vorpal's also decent to get that damage increase. Crystalline Corpus Bloom if you're again planning to ad clear, and then Control Burst also being very, very solid on it. So rapid fires probably being some of the best for DPS in the game here. So Overflow and Control Burst is going to be very, very solid. This is honestly kind of like the Scatter Signal place because you were on Overflow and Control Burst on that, except that was Strand. But with this now, you're going to have a huge magazine. You could just pump out a ton of damage. You could run Vorpal, but I think if you're going for pure DPS, Control Burst is going to be your way to go. Choke Clip obviously also being decent, just for sudden overloads and just kind of just general gameplay. You can call it shatter damage. Autoloading and like Control Burst could be solid, but I honestly think Overflow is just better because it kind of works like autoloading because it's going to overflow the magazine no matter if you're holding the gun or not. So Overflow probably is just the best in slot perk here, no matter what. But obviously, if you get a tier 5, I would look out for autoloading and Overflow, but Overflow definitely the goated perk. And then I would just look out for Control Burst, Choke Clip. Like getting both of those on the gun is going to be very good for utility-based things. Very, very good for just DPS. And this is going to be very solid. I think this is going to be one of the guns most people are going to be looking out for. It was already one of the guns most people looked out for, back in the day, but now it is just refreshed with the better perk pool. It has the new gear bonus. It has new origin traits, and there's nothing that can seriously just go wrong with this. It's a very, very solid fusion rifle. Now for PvP, on the other hand, you have things like built to blast, I guess, but you're not really going to be taking advantage of that too much. Cornered, under pressure, probably going to be your most solid option here, but you can then pair that with things like closing time. Everything else here doesn't really matter too much in my opinion. So under pressure, closing time, it's gonna be very solid. It's a rapid fire fusion. I'm not exactly sure many people that are using this type of fusion in PvP. I know something like Zealot's Reward's actually pretty solid, so maybe this could be a replacement for that or just a kinetic version of that. So it could be very good, so keep an eye out for that. Now next up, we have the Qua Vinctus IV. Pretty sure is how you say that. But this is going to be a Strand high impact frame machine gun. Now, in the first column, you have things like Slice, you have Hatchling, Triple Tap, maybe for some fun stuff, Demolitionist, all of those are going to be pretty solid. In the next column, you have things like Kill and Tally, Rewind Rounds, Strategist, Tear, and also Mega Neuro, which is a returning perk. Overall, pretty good perks for PvE, in my opinion. Now, we have a crazy good amount of machine guns. Like, I don't know if this is going to, overtake other machine guns that we currently have, but if you are looking just for a good machine gun, I mean, you have Hatchling for ad clear, you have Demo if you're trying to get grenade energy back. First column, honestly, maybe a little lacking, in some of these regards, but Hatchling, obviously very, very good for ad clear. Kill and Tally Triple Tap could be pretty fun as well. You also have, things like, Strategist, Demo if you're just going for just like pure ability energy, Tear if you're trying to, sever a bunch of targets. But Mega Neuro, Dragonfly probably going to be your best bet. Mega Neuro is basically just Firefly, but you could just stack it up more the more damage you do. Maybe not be the best on the machine gun because most of the time you're using these for ad clear and you're on a 1-shot or 2-shot most of the lower tier ads anyway, but it could be good. So you could just ad clear a lot with this, pairing that with Hatchling, you're going to be able to just basically get 1 or 2 kills and clear a whole room out. It could be very, very solid. Now, I think the one most people are looking out for here is like Triple Tap and Rewind. You're just going to be able to just shoot this literally forever, which could be very, very fun. I don't think it's going to be obviously crazy for DPS or anything, but if you're just kind of sitting behind a barricade, say something like Active Warwick or something, I mean, you could literally just hold the trigger down and not have to stress about anything. It could be pretty fun, but it is a high impact frame. If this was a rapid fire frame, this could be like the retrofit escapade replacement here. But since it is a high impact, it's not going to be like anything too crazy in that regard, in my opinion. But it's fun, and I think that could be what most people are just looking out for here. And it also has just decent PV perks in general for ad clear. Again, I don't think it's overtaken other machine guns that we currently have, but it does have the new gear bonus, and it could be pretty cool. Now, for PvP, on the other hand, you have things like Slice, and I mean, maybe Transcendence Moment. There's nothing too crazy in this first column here for PvP. I mean, Triple Tap probably going to be your best bet because you could just refund a bullet, have more ammo to maybe kill more, like an extra enemy with or something. That could be decent. And then in the second column, Lone Wolf being in the second column is actually pretty interesting. Probably going to be your best bet because, again, nothing else here really matters too much. So you just have a snappier machine gun alongside being able to refund a couple bullets. I think that's probably going to be the go-to option. Now, next up is the Mos Athanor IV, which is a void aggressive frame hand cannon. For the first column for PvE, destabilizing rounds, I mean, pretty much every void weapon has destabilizing rounds, is just going to be your go-to option. But in the second column, you have things like Demoralize, Sword Logic, and that's honestly about it. I mean, maybe Adagio could be interesting with an aggressive frame because he'll shoot very slow, but it should do a ton of damage. In the first column, honestly, destabilizing rounds is probably your best bet. I guess you could take Slotways, but it's stabilizing is obviously just better for ad clear. But to stabilizing, Demoralize, you get a precision kill, you're going to basically make everything weaken. Pair that with the artifact perks we have in this specific season, that could be very good. Obviously, you're going to make everything volatile as well. This could be a very, very fun, solid option. If you just want more damage, you know, destabilizing Sword Logic, also going to be very, very good. It should hit like a truck. You should ad clear like crazy as well. Those are like just by far going to be your best two combos here to go for. If you're playing purely to avoid, I think Demoralizing probably going to be the best way to go. Now for PvP, this, on the other hand, this has some crazy perks. You have Lone Wolf, Moving Target. You have, you know, Slotways in general. Keep Away. You can then pair that with Precision Instrument, Out of the Storm, Opening Shot. A lot of crazy good PvP perks on this hand cannon. I think most people are probably just going to go for a classic Lone Wolf Precision Instrument. This, again, just you get a bunch of stats, you get more precision damage. This is going to be very, very solid. Now, you could also play Slotways as well if you're just trying to basically get a ton of damage, never have to reload the gun. You could just keep slotting. That is also going to be very solid. Slotways also will give more stability and handling, which, you know, obviously very good stats in PvP. But even if you won't Keep Away is also very solid here, just to have that increased range. Since it is a aggressive frame, it should have pretty solid range on here. And I definitely could see this being a very, very sought after hand cannon. Opening Shot, Out of the Storm, also decent just for your 1v1s, but Precision Instrument probably going to be your best in slot go-to here. And again, if it was me, I'm probably going Lone Wolf Precision Instrument, but like, you really just cannot go wrong here. There's a lot of good perks on this thing. But staying on the theme of Crucible, let's move on to the Trials and Iron Banner weapons. I think there's only one new Iron Banner weapon here, and that is going to be the Reghusk Pledge, which is a void rapid fire auto rifle, which has me very interested because rapid fire frame auto rifles are very, very solid. So in the first column, you have things like Demoralize, Destabilizing rounds, Rewind rounds, I guess, Impromptu here for more ammo. Second column, Attrition Orbs, Golden Tricorn, Kill Clip, Pulsar Brace, Swashbuckler, very, very solid perks here. Now, right off the bat, again, this is a rapid fire frame, so it's going to shoot very, very quickly. So pairing that with something like Destabilizing for ad clear, and then Repulsor Braces on here just for like the classic combo. But even if you want like Attrition Orbs as well, you can make a bunch of orbs. You could also just do a ton of damage ad clear wise, but you could also play in the damage with Kill Clip, Golden Tricorn. In my opinion, Golden Tricorn probably being the better option here because Kill Clip, I mean, it's decent, but I don't think I would recommend it too much. Swash also honestly not that bad, but this combo here is going to be absolutely disgusting. Pair it with Void builds, especially if you're planning to Devour, because you can get grenade kills to make that Golden Tricorn proc go up to 50% increased damage. It is going to be disgusting. I am definitely looking out for this, and also since they buffed the Origin trait for Iron Banner in PvE, this is going to be very, very good. I think this could be a weapon a lot of people are going to look after. I mean, the Demoralize also if you want the weekend, but I mean, it's a void weapon again. Destabilizing is probably going to be your best in slot go-to. But you also have things like Impromptu and Attrition Orbs if you're looking for pre-utility, just more ammunition, more orbs everywhere. It's also very, very solid. You even have Rewind to target lock if you're playing into just let me just shoot at a target constantly over and over again. I know it's not the most sought after thing, but obviously we've seen like SMGs with Peacekeepers actually be pretty good for generating super energy and stuff. So maybe it's something to look out for. I know, again, it is an auto rifle, so you can't really take advantage of Peacekeepers, but it could be interesting, I guess. I think for me, though, the Stabilizing rounds, Gold Tricorn is definitely what I'm looking out for the most. Now, for PvP, you have things like Dynamic Sway in the first column, and that's honestly about it. I mean, I guess Built to Blast if you're really trying to play into that. And then the second column, you have things like Target Lock and Zen Moment. So if you just want like a really accurate 720, Dynamic Sway Zen Moment is going to be very, very solid. And if you're just trying to go for pure killing in 1v1s, Target Lock probably going to be your better option. So overall, I mean, a lot less good PvP perks, which is interesting because it is a PvP weapon, and some very, very fun PvE perks. Definitely excited to try to farm this one out because I definitely think it has pretty good potential if you need a solid void auto rifle. But now next up, let's move on to the Corundum Hammer. Not sure if I said that correct, but this is going to be an adaptive frame strain hand cannon. So I think a lot of people are going to be looking out for this one here for both PvE and PvP. In the first column, you have things like Slice, Reconstruction, which I don't think is like the craziest PvE perk. I mean, Slot Shot's pretty decent, Firefly, and Shoot to Loot. You also have things like Precision Instrument. You have Tear, Sword Logic, Explosive Payload, and Elemental Honing. All very, very solid PvE perks. To get it right out the way, I think the go-to combo most people are going to be looking out for is Shoot Through Explosive Payload. This is basically going to be the new gear Vulpecula replacement. It's strand, so it does darkness. It has the same benefit of just being able to pick ammo up extremely easy. This is going to be like the go-to most people are looking out for 100%. This is what I'm going to be looking out for. But if you want a more damage focused thing, you could go like Firefly and Tear. Firefly and Elemental Honing is very interesting because since the gun will be doing strain damage, you'll get a slot from that. Since Firefly does, solar, you will get another stack from that. So basically you can just get ×2 Elemental Honing very easily with this. And ×2 Elemental Honing is actually a 10% damage increase, which is nothing really to be slept on. Then if you're throwing it to the subclass, which you're using, you're going to be able to get Elemental Honing stacks very, very easily with this, and it could be very, very solid. You also have Firefly Explosive Payload. As you see, it does have like the Fatebringer model here. So basically you can have a strand Fatebringer. That's going to be very, very solid as well. I think most people are going to be looking out for that. It also has the new gear bonus. Very, very, very good PvE perks here. I mean, you could even have something like Reconstruction Precision Instrument if you're playing with like Lucky Pants, but obviously there are a lot better Lucky Pants options out there. So I don't know if I would recommend that too much. But I mean, Shoot to Loot Explosive Payload. If you get like a tier 5 version of this, Shoot to Loot Explosive Payload, Firefly, and Explosive Payload as well, or Firefly Elemental Honing. If you get all those perks on one gun, you're going to be set. This is going to be a very, very solid PvE hand cannon. Now, for PvP, I mean, you also have very good perks for Fragile Focus. You have Slice, Slot Shot, Lone Wolf. On top of that, Precision Instrument, Keep Away, Explosive Payload, Opening Shot. Probably even Elemental Honing. You could probably do some pretty interesting things with the weapon set. I'm not exactly sure too much, but you probably have some fun with that. Now, I think most people are probably going to, again, just Lone Wolf Precision Instrument. It's just the classic combo. It doesn't have rangefinder, which shocks me a little bit because they did buff it. And I think most people will look out for that too. Fragile Focus, if you want the range increase, but I think Lone Wolf probably going to be your better go-to option here. Slot Shot Precision Instrument, very, very solid. You could never have to reload. You just get a ton of range. Keep Away on here just to get some more range. Pairing that with Slot Shot, you could probably map some people with that. Lone Wolf Keep Away, you could just kind of sit back on your own, just snipe people. That's going to be very, very good. And then Explosive Payload, which I don't think most people are looking out for too much nowadays on weapons, but I mean, I'm sure it's still pretty decent because you will have like the split damage. You don't have to worry about fall off as much. Opening Shot, again, kind of the same thing. Rangefinder, Opening Shot, just a classic combo here, just being able to map people from far away. There's really nothing you can go wrong with. You get a tier 5, you get all these perks on one, you're going to be set. It's going to be very, very good. Lone Wolf Precision Instrument, probably going to be what I'm looking out for the most. And if I'm being completely honest, I'm looking out for PvE more with this thing. I mean, having a Strain Fatebringer and having a way to just pick ammo up all the time is going to be very, very good. Unfortunately, that does mean as a PvE main, you are going to have to be farming Trials a lot to get this hand cannon. But now moving on to our next weapon, we have the Astral Horizon. This is going to be an aggressive frame kinetic shotgun. This is going to be a returning one with the new perk pool. PvE, you have Left from Gold, you have Slot Shot, you have things like Stopping Power, maybe. Your Threat Detector is very good. You have 1-2 Punch in the next column, and Vorpal Weapon, maybe All-Star. Nothing like too crazy here for PvE. If you had to choose, you're probably just going to be going with something like 1-2 Punch, Threat Detector, or Slot Shot. If you're looking for like damage, again, All-Star Vorpal, but I don't really think anybody's using this thing for PvE for damage, and we already have such good 1-2 punch shotguns here. I don't really think you need 1-2 punch on Astral Horizon, but if you just need a new gear shotgun 1-2 punch in the kinetic slot, or you just don't have one in general, I mean, this is a solid go-to option, I guess. I mean, you also have like proximity power if you're trying to get your melee set up as well, which I guess is decent, but like, there's really nothing like insane here that we don't already have on other shotguns, in my opinion. So like, there's nothing too crazy like I'm gonna be farming for this for PvE or anything. For PvP, I mean, you have Slot Shot, Barrel Constrictor maybe, but Slot Shot probably being your better option. Snapshot, Threat Detector, all those are very, very good options. And then the second column, you have things like Opening Shot, Closing Time, and that's honestly probably about it. I think if I had to go for anything, it's probably just going to be Threat Detector and Closing Time. Pairing that together, you're just going to have a very, very solid PvP shotgun. But if you like Opening Shot, Slot Shot, Opening Shot, classic combo for this thing. You can map people with this. It's really nothing we haven't seen before. I mean, we've had this gun in the game for quite a long time and has pretty much the same perk pool. So, I mean, it's still going to be pretty decent. And for PvE, like, there's nothing here that stands out to me that, like, you've got to take this. So overall, I mean, it's a decent shotgun. I'm not going to go crazy for it. If I get it while farming the hand cannon, I'll keep one. Now, the topic of return of weapons, we also have the Immortal. So this is a strand SMG aggressive frame. In the first column for PvE, you have things like Slice, And you have things like hatchling and attrition orbs. And then in the second column, you have target lock, you have kill clip, you have demolitionist, you have master of arms, and elemental honing. So if you're looking for like ad clear setup, I mean, you do obviously have like a damage perk, you have hatchling, you compare that with demo hatchling, could be go for, you know, threatening base builds or anything of the sort like that. You have elemental honing, which I don't think is like the craziest option on this specific weapon, but you also have master of arms for a damage perk. Pairing that with maybe something like attrition orbs could just be like a good neutral weapon. Attrition orbs target lock if you're just really trying to do a ton of damage on one target, while also making orbs, that could be pretty decent as well. For PvE, there's nothing like too crazy here. If you're going for threat detector for reload, pairing that with like kill clip for a damage perk, it could be solid. Again, I don't think this thing is really built for PvE. If I'm being honest, I'm probably just looking out for like a threatening base build with something like demo and hatchling. But I'm not like too crazy about this weapon, if I'm being completely real with you. Now for PvP, on the other hand, you have a bunch of good perks. You have Slice, you have Dynamic Sway, you have Threat Detector, you have Keep Away, you have Rangefinder. Then you have Target Lock, Kill Clip, Lone Wolf, Master of Arms as well. I mean, Transcendent Moment, like they're all very, very solid. I mean, Elemental Honing as well, if you could do some interesting stuff with that maybe. Very, very good perks here. Rangefinder with the range increase is going to be very, very solid. Obviously, Keep Away, very solid. Threat Detector probably being like the less cool option, but I mean, it is decent. Dynamic Sway kind of as well. Keep Away, Rangefinder probably going to be the two go-to perks here. Target Lock probably being the best option. Like Rangefinder, Target Lock, I think is what most people are going to be looking out for. You're going to have crazy range increase constantly. You're going to just have more damage if you're just shooting the same target. But if you're slaying out, you have Kill Clip, you have Master of Arms. But I think overall, just like for a 1v1 scenario, which is what most people are building for in Crucible anyway, Rangefinder Target Lock is probably going to be the go-to. It's going to be very solid. You compare that with a bunch of range increases, and you should be able to get this thing just to have crazy range and just very, very solid killing potential. The next step is going to be the Martlet, which is a void lightweight frame pulse rifle. So in the first column, we have things like Repulsor Brace, Firefly, and that's pretty much it for PvE. Maybe could throw loose change in there. Then the second column, we have Destabilizer Rounds, Sword Logic, Desperate Measures, Withering Gaze, Kill Clip, Desperado. They're all pretty decent. So since it's a void weapon, you have the classic combo Destabilizing your Repulsor Brace. I mean, a lot of guns have this now. I don't think it's anything too special, but it is good. Typically, you're going to take Destabilizing Rounds to this, but you can pair this with Firefly to get a bunch of reload speed. You're also going to call Solar Explosions alongside all the Void Explosions. I think this could be a ton of fun for PvE at clear. Obviously, the more explosions, the better, but even if you don't want to take something like that, you could also take Kill Clip, because that will play into the reload speed or just any other damage perk. Desperado could also pair very well with this, just to get the increased fire rate. But even if you want to go Destabilizing and lose change for the reload speed, you could, but I think Firefly is generally going to be better. And this is probably what I'm going to be looking out for the most. It is worth noting that, again, that does have Withering Gaze, so you could have like a utility weapon to weaken targets and get an overshield if you need to. That also would be pretty solid. Now for PvP, it has Headseeker in the first column, which is actually really cool. It has Lone Wolf as well, you know, Perpetual Motion, Keep Away, all those are going to be very solid perks. But in the right column, I mean, you have damage perks, you know, if you want to slay out, you have Withering Gaze, which could be pretty interesting as well. And then Desperado here, if you're, again, trying to slay out with Zen Moment too, that's also very, very good. So it's a couple of different ways I think you could go about this. I mean, you could go Keep Away, Zen Moment just for pure consistency. I feel like Perpetual Motion, you could take that, but between Keep Away and Lone Wolf, I think those would be the better options. Lone Wolf Zen Moment, obviously also very, very good. It's just going to be extremely accurate. You could take Headseeker Zen Moment. This is the classic combo on almost every single pulse rifle, but you could go the ultimate damage route and take Withering Gaze. So you can just aim down Cypher a little bit, weaken the target, you'll do more damage to them, pairing that with Headseeker to also get the damage increase if you hit a body shot. Maybe this could be some crazy synergy going on here. I think it could be really, really cool. I mean, you could even play into like Repulsor if you want to overshield in Crucible, because that could also proc. That would be very, very cool. Or you could just go classic Lone Wolf, pair that with Withering or just any other like slay out perk. It could be really cool. There's a lot of interesting options here. I think like the most unique is definitely going to be Headseeker Withering, if you're like looking for something just purely unique. But if you're just looking for a good pulse rifle, I mean, Zen Moment, Headseeker, Zen Moment, Lone Wolf, Keep Away, any of just the consistency perks, this thing is going to be very, very good. Now for the final PvP weapon, we have the Cataphract. This is a returning grenade launcher, and grenade launchers aren't like the craziest thing in the game right now. I mean, I wouldn't say they're terrible, but they're definitely not what most people are using, especially with this specific season, with swords being crazy good. But in the first column, I mean, you have Envious Assassin, you have Autoloading, you have Envious Arsenal. Those are probably going to be your go-to perks. But I mean, in the second column for damage, you have, Bait and Switch, Full Court, Vorpal, I guess. It's kind of the classic. I feel like this weapon honestly just came out and they've reprised it already. Like, it's not like that old of a weapon. I mean, like what, 2 seasons ago, this is what most people were using for DPS anyway. Is what most people were trying to get when grenade launchers are very good. So, I mean, again, you probably already have one from them, but if you want a new gear version, I mean, you have envious and bait and switch, probably going to be your go-to option. We have a ton of envious bait and switch weapons in the game currently, so I don't particularly see where this was going to stand out the most. I guess it is strand, so you could pair this with something like Mint Retrograde if you are playing into Surge mod specifically. That could be very good, obviously with envious, and then, if you have Rewind on Mint Retrograde, you could have some crazy swap damage going on here. But once again, it's nothing like, oh, you've got to get this because you, again, probably already have something like this. But if you don't, you could go get this if you're trying to farm for that hand cannon. I would definitely keep one. But it's nothing like I'm crazy looking out for or anything. Now, for PvP, on the other hand, I mean, you do have things like Impulse Amplifier, which is probably going to be your best slot. Quick Draw if you're trying to swap to it faster, which is good. And then in the other column, Full Court probably being your best option here. Just like Impulse Full Court, which again, I'm pretty sure was just the role most people used when it was in meta and PvP back when you could get it beforehand too. It's just weird. It's like, I feel like this gun, like, it's not even that old. We have a new version with essentially the same perk pool, essentially the same perks that you want to look out for. I mean, you do have new perks, obviously Blast Distributor, Impromptu, Live from Blight, which, I mean, if you're just looking out for like a pure ammo thing, that could be good, maybe, but like, you're not really going to be using a heavy weapon for that. So again, it's not bad by any means, but it's just nothing like crazy that I'm excited about, I guess is the best way to say it. All right, guys, I've been recording for 53 minutes. I think we are about halfway through the weapons now, but moving on to what I assume is like the Vanguard weapons here. You're just going to get these from like portal activities. This is the something. This, it looks like the longbow synthesis from Destiny 1. So if you're a fan of that, I mean, maybe you want to get this one. But for PvE, by the way, this is going to be a kinetic aggressive frame. For PvE, you have things like triple tap and then maybe stopping power. That's about it. For the second column, you have Elements of Honing, maybe Box Breathing if you're trying to do some fun stuff with that. Kinetic Tremors is going to be pretty decent. Redirection could be fun, kind of like All-Star could also be fun. So typically, you're using snipers for like just DPS in general. No one's really using like snipers for at clear. So without a doubt, the best perk in the first column is going to be triple tap. Like you just get extra ammo, which is nice. You can then pair that with Elements of Honing. If you're playing just like a prismatic, this could be good just to get a ton of damage out. Redirection being like the coolest option because you can just hit a bunch of targets and then do a ton of damage to a ball so you shoot at. I don't think it's going to be the best thing because it is an aggressive frame. You're not going to be shooting it a lot. Again, All-Star kind of, if you get that increased damage, it could be pretty cool. But Kinetic Tremor is probably going to be your go-to slot. Just triple tap. You get easy proc Kinetic Tremors. You get that extra damage. Very, very nice. Or Elements of Honing again, just for damage again. Like those two are probably going to be your best slot options for this. I don't think anybody's going to be chasing after this too hard, especially if you do have something like Supremacy. But I mean, it is a new gear bonus, so maybe you want it. Now for PvP, on the other hand, you do have things like No Distraction, which is pretty solid. Snapshot, which is probably going to be the go-to slot. Discord, if you're just trying to slay out, if you can proc Discord and keep killing, that could be very, very fun. And then in the second column for PvP specifically, you don't have much, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, maybe like adhesive ordnance. So when you ever collect ammo, you get like a round in the gun. I'm not exactly sure how this works in PvP, but on paper, reading it, it sounds like it could be interesting, assuming it could still get a kill, because obviously it has like an explosive bullet. Again, you're gonna have to have some further testing on that, but maybe this could just be like free ammo essentially. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, literally for all the perks though, like nothing matters too much. All-Star, maybe you can like one shot somebody with this. I highly doubt it, but so with All-Star and adhesive here, I mean, it could be pretty interesting playing around special bricks, but again, there's really just nothing else here. Snapshot being fun, and the fact that it kind of is like the longbow synthesis, maybe you want it. It could be pretty fun for PvP. Maybe just stat-wise on its own or just feel-wise on its own. It's very, very good. We'll just have to wait and see. Now, next up is the PSI or PSI Aeterna IV. I know I probably butchered that, and I'm sorry. But this is the brand new ARC rocket pulse rifle. I think this is one most people are going to be looking out for because obviously rocket pulses are very, very strong. In the first column, you have things like Blast Distributor, Eddy Current, stats for all. Maybe Reverberation could be interesting, and Trickle Charge being a new perk. And then the next column, you have things like Elements of Honing, Jolting Feedback, One for All, Rolling Storm. All those are pretty solid options. Now for like ad clear, you do have stats for all, One for All, but I think most people realize nowadays you're not really using these for ad clear too much. They're more single target damage weapons, but it is there if you are trying to use it for ad clear. I think what most people are probably going to go for damage wise, just Elements of Honing. Obviously, Elements of Honing on Mint Retrograde is very, very good. I imagine is also going to be very solid here as well. You could then pair that with something like Blast Distributor, which should be pretty easy to stack up since it is a 3-round burst, so you can get just a ton of extra grenade stat. And obviously, if you're playing to a different subclass, that can help proc elemental honing. But I think the most interesting thing here is Trickle Charge, and this makes it so whenever you are receiving or discharging Molt Charge, it will actually load ammo to the magazine. So this is kind of like your rewind rounds for Mint Retrograde, except you have to play into Arc, but there's artifact perks that do it now. Obviously in DPS scenarios, if you're standing behind a bolt charge barricade, which you do now most of the days anyway, you're just going to be able to reload the gun really easy. So pairing that with elemental honing, you never have to reload, you get a ton of damage. It could be very good. Now, just for neutral play as well, so you're just kind of running around shooting stuff, you could also take Rolling Storm, so this will just grant you bolt charge, which in return will reload the gun too. So you could just get bolt charge stacks, never have to reload the gun, discharge the bolt charge, reloads the gun. It could be very, very good. But I think for damage-wise, most people are going to be going with elemental honing, trickle charge, or again, blast distributor again to get that extra grenade stat. I'm probably looking out for trickle charge, but again, if you get a tier 5, you can get both, so that's very, very good. And then, I mean, Jolt to feedback's an honorable mention as well. I don't think it's anything too crazy because it's not too difficult to apply Jolt with just a subclass or just any other weapon in general. So, elemental honing for damage, trickle charge so you never have to reload. That is 100% what I'm looking out for. Now, for PvP, on the other hand, I'm going to be real. I don't even see that many good PvP perks on here, and I feel like most people don't even use these things in PvP, so I don't even know what to recommend, if I'm being completely real with you, because there's really nothing here that's too good. I guess one more honorable mention for PvE is maybe Reverberation, since you can get the max blast radius on this thing, but again, I don't even think it's going to be that good. Definitely just look out for Blast Distributor, Trickle Charge, Elemental Honing, and you're going to be set. The next up is Duty Bound. This is a returning auto rifle. This is going to be a kinetic adaptive frame. A lot of people love this thing. I think this is the second time it's been refreshed now, but when it first came out, it was like a Nightfall exclusive weapon. A lot of people really liked it, but now we can get it again. And in the first column, we have Enlightened Action, we have 4 tons of charm, which we'll talk about here in a second. Stopping power again, maybe. Bewildering burst in the first column, which could be pretty interesting. That's pretty much it. Also on the second column, Rampage and Triple Tap. Triple Tap being interesting, obviously paired with 4 times charm, but Rampage actually got a pretty big buff to where you don't lose the stacks anymore, so that could be very, very good. Onslaught probably being the better Rampage here, just so you could shoot it a lot faster. And that's honestly probably about it in the second column. So pairing this stuff together, I mean, you have things like Enlightened Action, which is just good in general. You just get reload speed and handling. You can pretty much put that in any PvE build. But you also have things like Onslaught and Bewildering Burst. Onslaught will actually give reload speed as well, which is nice, but also the fire rate. You can then reload with that reload speed increase to proc up Bewildering Burst here to basically just, you know, disorient targets. That could be very, very solid. I could see this being very good. I mean, you also have like, you know, Enlightened Action, Rampage, just get the reload speed from Enlightened Action. The damage decrease in Rampage, which got buffed now, that could be very good. Just a solid auto rifle. It's just a solid workhorse weapon. There's nothing crazy about it. It just kind of does what it does, and it's good at it. You also have, you know, Triple Tap, 4 times the charm. Again, if you're just trying to like lay down the trigger, just shoot forever, it could be decent. Again, I don't think anybody's like actually gonna be running this in most content in the game, but it is fun if you just want to have a fun option. And for PvE, if I'm being completely honest, I think that's about it. For PvP, on the other hand, I mean, you do have Zen Moment, you have Lone Wolf. You could then pair that with something like Dynamic Sway Reduction, and you're gonna have a pretty accurate auto rifle if that's your thing. Again, there's really nothing like crazy that's gonna like stand out about this weapon. It just has some solid workhorse, you know, perks. You get some reload speed, get some damage, get some disorient, get some fire rate, just increased accuracy for PvP. I think this is going to be a pretty good weapon. There's nothing I'm like going to be looking out for, but if I ever get one to drop, I'm definitely going to check the perks on it. If I get any of those combinations I just talked about, I think it could be pretty good. Now, next up, we have the Saipedon-D. I again know I probably pronounced that wrong. It's crazy the amount of names they can keep coming up with in this game with the amount of weapons. Obviously, there's probably like an endless amount of names they can make, but like with the amount of guns in the game, it's I don't know. I feel like something has to overlap at this point. It's just crazy. But this is going to be an arc spread shot hand cannon. So this is kind of like the shotgun hand cannons here. So, you know, this could be pretty decent. The first column we have Impromptu for ammo, Eddy Current for reload speed, Left from Light again for like a more ammo based thing, a Trickle Charge again. I mean, Proximity Power is also pretty decent. In the second column, you have Rolling Storm, you have 1-2 Punch, you have Trench Barrel, you have Volt Shot, and you have Desperate Messenger. So honestly, bunch of good perks. This is just gonna kind of play into how you want to use the gun. I mean, 1-2 Punch at Proximity Power, you get the increased melee stat, you get increased melee damage, obviously with 1-2 Punch. That's going to be a solid combo. I mean, you pretty much just have like a infinite 1-2 punch / melee increase gun here. You just run around with this. It's going to be very, very solid. The 1-2 punch, it does do less than what a special ammo 1-2 punch, but again, overall, this is still just going to be very, very good paired together. You also have the bolt charge, trickle charge combo. So basically you get a, bolt charge stack with Rolling Storm. You're going to reload the gun. You can just keep shooting it forever. And then you can use the, bolt charge to discharge, do some crazy damage. It can be very, very good. You also have Volt Shot, which I think is what most people are going to be looking out for. Volt Shot and this thing can be fun. However, these guns typically have very bad reload speed. So you're not going to be proccing it a lot, but you can basically just easily get a one shot because these things actually do pretty crazy damage for PvE. Reload, you can start spreading Volt Shot everywhere. You could obviously pair that with Eddy Current to get that reload speed up, so you can kind of like negate the downside of this. So you have crazy damage just as the base gun itself. You have Volt Shot for add clear, Eddy Current because you'll be amplified. This can be very, very solid. You also have things like impromptu ammunition as well, but I don't know if I really recommend that on here too much. So if I'm being completely honest, what I'm looking out for is definitely going to be proximity power 1-2 punch combination. Probably Volt Shot, Eddy Current for add clear. I think this could be very, very good. And then maybe just like Rolling Storm, trickle charge, just for like a fun interaction here. But I don't think anybody's going to be using that too much. And I guess we should give an honorable mention to Trench Barrel as well if you are trying to just make the gun do a lot more damage. That could also be pretty solid too. Now for PvP, in the first column, you really only have To the Pain. Nothing else here. It's like anything too crazy. I guess Eddy Current, if you're playing, it's like a amplified base setup. To the Pain probably being your best bet. And then in the second column, there is really not a lot here. I mean, these are all really PvE focused perks. Desperate Measures maybe being pretty decent. But again, there's nothing like too crazy here for PvP. This is definitely more of a PvE suited hand cannon. Now, next up, we have Horror's Lease, which is a returning pulse rifle. A lot of people really like this thing. It's been reprised, I think, one time before, so we're getting it again. So first column for PvE, I mean, you have things like Supercharge Your Magazine, which you can basically just kind of like reload the gun casually. You're just going to be amplified. You have Trickle Charge and Overflow. Those are really your only 3 PvE perks. In the second column, you have Kill Clip, Frenzy, Jolty Feedback, Rampage, and Rolling Storm. So like nothing too crazy here. Supercharged Magazine, depending on the amount of ammo you get back, this could be decent. If you just never have to reload, that could be good, but obviously that kind of takes out using Kill Clip on this weapon. Trickle Charge, and you Trickle Charge, Rolling Storm, that classic combo here that we've been mentioning, it could be pretty fun, but I don't think it's anything too crazy. And Overflow, I guess it's okay, but it's not like the most sought after thing. Again, this kind of makes Kill Clip redundant because you're never gonna have to reload the gun. All of these kind of do. All of these just don't want you to reload the gun. So Kill Clip's kind of trash on this gun, to be completely honest. But you also have Frenzy. This gives you reload speed, but again, you don't have to reload, but the increased damage is nice. Jolty Feedback, you're really trying to play into that. I mean, Rampage, you got buffed. I don't know, like this gun has good PvE perks in the right column, but the left ones just seem so off to me for like primary weapon based things. Like I feel like these are more like special ammo oriented perks. But I guess it's not bad. I would probably just go with something like maybe Rampage and Overflow or Jolting Feedback, something of the sort like that. But for PvE, I'm not like too crazy with this thing. Now for PvP, I mean, you have the classic Zen Moment, and you have Transcendence Moment. If you're into that sort of thing, Heating Up's not the worst. In the second column, you have things like Kill Clip, which is the classic. You have Perpetual Motion as well. And honestly, that's probably about it. I think most people are just going to go for Zen Moment, Kill Clip. It's just the classic combo. It's really easy to shoot. It does a ton of damage real quick. It's very, very good. It's definitely what I'm going to be looking out for, but say you don't want Kill Clip, you just want like a more just accurate weapon. Perpetual Motion Zen Moment also is going to be pretty solid. Horror's Lease, it's cool to see it back. I mean, we've seen it before. Some people really do enjoy this weapon, so I imagine they're going to be looking out for it quite a lot. But me personally, if I get something cool like I've just described, I'll keep it, but I'm not like farming for this thing for sure. And next up, we have a good shout. This is going to be a heavy Void crossbow, which is good because obviously we don't have a lot of these in the game. But in the first column, you have things like Bolt Scavenger, which is decent if you're just trying to do damage over and over. You have Withering Gaze, which could be interesting, and Envious Arsenal, which is also going to be interesting. Then the second column, we have Butterfly, which is a new perk, which basically just lets you ADS for a short time, and you can just blow things up. It's kind of like Box Breathing, which it also has, but pair with Dragonfly, which I guess is cool. I mean, Box Breathing is also decent if you're just trying to do a ton of damage to one target. High Ground, if you're doing some fun things like a Stasis Crystal. The Stabilizer rounds, you're not really using this for ad clear, but I mean, I guess it is cool because it technically does have infinite ammo if you are picking the bolts up. And I mean, Rampage kind of the same thing, and then Demoralize, which could be interesting. So right off the bat, I mean, if you're using these things for damage here, there's no crazy damage perk in the right column. Envious could be fun if it had like a better damage perk because you could do some like crazy swap stuff with it. But again, there's real no damage perk. High ground being your best damage perk in the second column is probably not the best option here. But I mean, hey, maybe there's some cool stuff you can do with it. Utility wise though, I mean, you do have Withering Gaze just so you can get a weaken off. You should have like infinite Withering Gaze ammo if you are picking your bolts up, which could be cool. You could then pair that with Box Breathing just so you could do a ton of damage with that shot. You obviously will also weaken the boss, swap off of it, and you can just kind of have like as a pure utility based weapon. I think that could be pretty good. It could be something you may want to have like in your back pocket just in case. I mean, we've seen Withering Gaze actually be pretty solid. The problem is this can also just roll in primary weapons. So if you're just looking for a utility weapon, you may as well just get this option on a primary weapon so you can have a better power weapon. But with things like Still Hunt and, you know, Izanagi's also being very good with this specific season, or even like the Praxic Blade or something, I can see this being solid. I could see it being pretty good. I don't think it's going to be game changing or anything, but it could be decent. You also have Repulsor Brace and Demoralize and Stabilizing if you're trying to get overshields really easily, but again, nothing too crazy. But overall, I think that's honestly about it for PvE. The Stasis crossbow, I think, is still going to be better in my opinion, just because it does have auto loading, it has aggregate. Probably going to be a better option if you are just trying to play into a combat mode for pure damage. But this does have fun options. I'm not going to lie and say like it is fun stuff, and I will be on the lookout for like, you know, a Withering Gaze Box Breathing just to have it just in case. Now for PvP, you have no distractions. That's honestly about it in the first column. I mean, you have things like Box Breathing, but I don't really think you need that. High Ground, I don't really think you need that either. PvP, it really doesn't have much either. So if I'm being honest, I'll probably just pair a Box Breathing because you do get the increased range, which maybe will make it easier to hit a target. But other than that, I think that's about it. I mean, it's cool, but if you got the other bow, you're probably just going to be using that one instead. But if you didn't get one of those, you could maybe get something like this. I mean, maybe like the Act-Clear stuff would be cool with the, you know, infinite bolts. You can just keep getting over and over again. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not really looking out for this thing. Again, if I get something, yeah, I'll keep it. But I don't think there's anything on here that people are going to be really looking out for. Now, next up is the Evening SL4. This is a adaptive burst. It's going to be one of the 3 on burst sidearms. We honestly have not seen one of these in a while, if I'm being completely real with you, and I absolutely love this archetype of weapon. I feel like this is like one of the most slept on archetypes. They are very good, I feel like, in both PvE and PvP. So in the first column, we do have things like Hill Clip, which is going to be very solid. We have Impromptu Ammunition, Subsistence, and then the second column, we have things like Sword Logic, Burning Ambition, Desperate Measures, Incandescent. All these are going to be very good. You even have things like Collective Pugilism and Proximity Power if you're really trying to play like melee focused things. That can also be very, very good. So right off the bat, I mean, Hill Clip, Incandescent, I think is going to be gross on this thing. I mean, obviously, it's gross on pretty much every gun, but I feel like particularly on this one, you're going to be reloaded very quick. You're going to be able to just kill stuff very quick. You're going to spread that Scorch everywhere really easily. I mean, this is just going to be a solid Hill Clip Incandescent weapon. If you're playing it impromptu, you could just take a damage perk or even Incandescent as well, just so you can make more ammo. You can get kills a lot easier. Subsistence also can be interesting, so you never have to reload. Pairing that with a damage perk, again, you could just keep spraying over and over again. But let's be honest, Hill Clip Incandescent probably is going to be the go-to combo for this weapon. Now for PvP, you have things like Lone Wolf and Offhand Strike if you're trying to do some like funny hipfire stuff. And then the second column, you have things like Head Seeker, and obviously like any damage perk also as well, just for slaying out could be good. But I think like Lone Wolf Head Seeker on this archetype sidearm has potential to be very, very good. I'm very excited to get one of these and try it out. I absolutely adore these things in PvP. So like having this just crazy combo here just for extra stats, the extra damage as well, because especially on mouse and keyboard, you're for sure going to be getting body shots of this thing. So Head Seeker could come in very, very clutch. I'm very excited to try this out, and I'm gonna be real, I think I'm more excited for PvP than I am for PvE, but obviously the Hill Clip Incandescent is also still gonna be very, very solid for PvE. All right, now moving on to the Oxygen SR3. This is gonna be a Solar Precision Frame Scout Rifle. We've seen this in the game before as well, but in the first column, you have things like Stats for All, Hill Clip, Pugilist maybe, Rapid Hit, Shoot to Loot, bunch of good perks. Now in the second column, you have Mega Neura, you have Burning Ambition, One for All also as well. All those are pretty decent perks. Now Stats for All, One for All, obviously they play together well. That could be pretty decent. I think most people are going to be looking out for Mega Neura because this was like the OG perk on this weapon, just to get those Firefly explosions. You could pair that with Shoot to Loot, so it can pick all the ammo up. You can have a crazy big explosion. It should be able to pick all the ammo up. That could be very, very solid. Rapid Hit as well, because obviously you need to get rapid precision hits to increase Mega Neura. That just has a a goated combo there as well. Hill Clip, I mean, it's Hill Clip is one of the best perks in the game. You really can't go wrong with it. I mean, Hill Clip One for All just for like a pure damage. I don't think many people are going to be using this Scout Rifle just for like, I guess like ad clear the stints like that. But if you are, you're probably going to be using Mega Neura anyway. Burn Ambition, Rapid Hit could be interesting maybe. You could build up the scorch stacks, get the reload speed. Overall, though, I think I'm looking out for Mega Neuro just as like the main perk, and then I want one with like Shoot to Loot, Rapid Hit, and Hill Clip. If it is like a tier 5, have all 3 of those together. That could be very good. I guess it is worth mentioning that Stats for All should also be able to proc with Mega Neuro, so basically get 1 explosion and get all the bonuses, but I don't really think it's needed that much. Now, for PvP, on the other hand, in this first column, Rapid Hit probably being your best option. You also have To the Pain as well, but Rapid Hit probably being the go-to. Box Breathing could be interesting. You know, Rapid Hit Box Breathing is notoriously pretty good on scout rifles like this, so maybe you want to look out for that. And then other than that, that is honestly about it. I mean, you have things like Binary Orbit. If you're trying to swap over to it, it could be pretty fun, but I don't think it's going to be anything too crazy. Rapid Hit, Box Breathing probably being your best bet with something like Mega Neuro, and Rapid Hit or Shoot to Loot probably being your best bet for PvE. Now, finally, for the Vanguard weapons, we have the Nox Sidereal IV, which is an aggressive frame stasis fusion rifle. These have starting to get some play. They're really weird to use, but in the right situations, they actually are pretty good. So in the first column for PvE, you have things like Ambitious, Stats for All, I guess, Demo, and then the second column, Frenzy, Crystalline Corpse Bloom, Master of Arms, Discord, Reservoir Burst. Nothing like too crazy here. For pure ad clear, I mean, you do have like Discord, you basically get infinite ammo, which is cool. You could then pair that with something like Demo to get a bunch of grenade energy back. You don't really need Stats for All for the reload speed, because again, you don't really have to reload with Discord. I mean, it's fun, but it's nothing like too crazy about it. Reservoir Burst could be interesting with Ambitious here, just to get the increased damage. You have a bunch of explosions because you'll have the magazine overflow, which is pretty cool. I don't think it's anything like, again, too crazy. It could be fun though. Crystalline Corpse Bloom, I don't think is like too crazy on this either, but I mean, you have like the Demo combo here. Frenzy for damage. Yeah, I mean, the perk pool in this is just not that good in my opinion. I mean, there's like some fun things you could do, but like there's nothing I'm really excited for or looking out for too much. Ambitious Reservoir probably being like the best go-to option. I mean, maybe like Discord Ambition, you just never have to reload and you just spray and act through with it like crazy, but I don't really think most people are going to be using that, if I'm being completely real with you, but I guess it is an option. Also, I totally glossed over Clown Cartridge here because I'm going to be real, I thought this was under pressure for a second, but Clown Cartridge is on here, so you could pair that with Reservoir Burst and maybe have like a decent setup here too, but again, it's just kind of like whatever to me. But for PvP, I mean, this first column, you really don't have much. I mean, Shot Swap, I guess, like it's going to be your best option. And I mean, Discord, I guess, could be fun, but like, again, no one's really using these things PvP. Overall, like this gun is just it's kind of all right. Like, I'm not like excited for it. I feel like we have better fusions, even like this archetype. It's nothing like too crazy. I guess it does go into the kinetic slot, which is cool. But overall, again, I'm not really looking out for this thing. But all right, now let's move on to some more weapons that I assume are just going to come for the portal. I'm not like 100% sure. So yeah, it may just like world drop or something, but we have a Motif 41, which is going to be an Area Denial Solar Grenade Launcher. Area Denials are pretty popular, but typically you're using like darkness-based ones because most of the time you're just using these for building darkness energy up for Transcendence. With things like Lightning Surge of Consecration, they do light damage. So light one, it's not like too crazy, but obviously with things like Cycle Pump, it was pretty interesting, and this is a solar one, so it could be pretty good as well. First column, you have things like Stats for All, which is obviously going to be very easy to proc. Wellspring for energy, Hill Clip, auto loading also is pretty solid. Incandescent, Binary Orbit, I guess, Attrition Orbs, Demolitionist for energy, Master Runs for damage, Vorpal for damage, pretty solid options. So right off the bat, I mean, Hill Clip Incandescent could be pretty good. You are going to be reloading this every single shot, so you could basically spray a bunch of solar energy everywhere. Everything's going to blow up, scorch everything. You heal. It could be very good. Hill Clip Incandescent is like just a go-to combo on pretty much every weapon, but a little bit more on this weapon, I would say, especially since it also does have like the Shearer's Origin trait. Now, you also have like auto-loading and Vorpal. If you're trying to do some like swap DPS, you could just shoot this, get the Vorpal damage, never have to reload. That could be very, very good as well. If you're playing into pure ability energy, you have Demo and Wellspring, which could be cool, but I don't think anyone's going to be really using it too much. Even attrition orbs on here, which they have gotten nerfed, but I mean, it's still decent. Like auto-loading attrition orbs could be solid. If there ever is like a thing you need to just build light energy up for transcendence for some reason, you could have attrition orbs auto-loading, just swap to it, make orbs, build energy up very, very easily. Very good utility weapon here. But I don't know if I'm like really looking out for it the most. I think if I had to choose anything, like Hill Clip Incandescent on like a tier 4 weapon for sure. Auto-loading attrition orbs, auto-loading Vorpal, just like a swap rotation thing. And then the rest is honestly just kind of up to you. For PvP, I mean, I don't really think people are using these in PvP too much. I guess you do have like Impulse Amplifier, which is cool. Auto-loading maybe, I guess. There's nothing like too crazy here. So I don't even know if I recommend it for PvP. I guess you do have like Master of Arms if you're trying to swap to it, do more damage if you get to kill with a different weapon. The same as like Binary Orbit. I don't know, maybe you could do some fun stuff with that. I'm not really looking out for that too much, but for PvE, there definitely are some good options on here if you are looking out for one of these. And next up, we have the 86. Now, this is going to be a Strand Vortex frame sword. Now, Vortex frames, I don't think are the best in the game currently, but they are some of the most fun, in my opinion. And taking a look at its perk pool, we have things like Tireless Blade, just like normal sword perks. We also have Relentless Strikes, Duelist Trance, Sharp Harvest, if that's your thing. There's no Eager Edge on it, it looks like, but it also has Elemental Honing, Redirection, attrition orbs, and I mean, I guess chain reaction for Act Clear, On Guard. So I think most people are probably just going to try to build this around DPS. I mean, you have like Relentless and Elemental Honing. That is going to be a very solid option. You just keep hitting. You get damage to Elemental Honing. It's very, very good. Attrition orbs also isn't bad. You just have a ton of ammo. You're making a ton of orbs. That can also be very, very good. Relentless Strikes probably is just going to be your best perk here in any like DPS scenario. It's just by far the best. But even if you want to play into, I guess, like the Vortex frame aspect, you could go Tireless Blade or Duelist Trance, pair that with like Chain Reaction. It could be a decent Act Clear thing. I think the most interesting thing is probably going to be Redirection. If you could stack up a bunch of Redirection stacks and then just do crazy damage to a boss. I'm not 100% sure if that's going to be like strong or anything, but it's there. I think for the most part, their Relentless Strikes, Elemental Honing, or again, maybe Redirection is probably going to be your best bet. Now for PvP, honestly, I just wouldn't even recommend this because it doesn't have Eager Edge. Usually Eager Edge is just the go-to PvP perk. So in my opinion, this is really just a PvE sword. And next up, we have Hawthorne's Fuel Forge Shotgun. This is an OG weapon. I know some people love this weapon. It is going to be stasis now. It is a lightweight frame. For PvE, you have things like Left from Gold, you have Slide Shot, you have Grave Robber, which is, I guess, is also a pretty interesting option, Threat Detector, and then you have Crystalline Corpse Bloom, you have Chill Clip, Master of Arms, Discord, and that's honestly about it for PvE. So for like a pure damage setup, I don't see anything like too crazy on here. I guess Chill Clip just being like your best neutral game perk, which can be fun since it is stasis now. Lead from Gold for more ammo. You could also pair like, Chill Clip Slot Shot, so you could just always stay at the top half of the magazine, constantly freeze over and over again, or constantly slow out to say it could lead to a freeze. That could be very solid. I think that's probably what I would look out for the most, if I'm being completely real with you. But if you're looking for just like infinite ammo, Discord, Left from Gold, you get a kill, basically swap this thing and just unload on enemies. It could be a ton of fun. I don't think it's anything like too crazy, or I mean, Crystalline Corpus Bloom as well, if you're really trying to play into stasis with the shotgun, but I think this is going to be better on a primary weapon. So probably Chill Clip, Slide Shot, what I'm looking out for the most for PvE. This could be pretty fun. Again, I don't think it's anything like too crazy, but it is obviously going to be very, very good. Now for PvP, on the other hand, it does have things like Slot Shot, it has Lone Wolf, it has Threat Detector, it has Closing Time, Opening Shot. All these are very, very solid PvP perks. I'm not 100% sure people are going to be using lightweight frames. I think these actually did get changed a little bit, so maybe they're a little bit better now. So, Lone Wolf, Closing Time, Goaded combo, Opening Shot, Threat Detector, goated combo. Nothing really you can go wrong here. If you get both of those on a tier 5, I think you are going to be pretty set. So I mean, it's a solid shotgun. I think everybody likes the shotgun. It sounds cool. It feels cool. It's some cool stasis, interactions here now for PvE. It has goated PvP perks. I think it's going to be a pretty sought after weapon, just kind of maybe for nostalgia purposes, but it's also just pretty good. I'm excited to get one of these. Now, next up, we have the Monody 44. This is going to be a high impact frame void fusion rifle. This is actually a Shuros one, so it's actually kind of like a new model, which is cool. But in this first column, you have things like Discord, Subsistence, attrition orbs, enlighten action, repulsor brace, and then the second column you have frenzy, destabilizing rounds, control burst, successful warm up, withering gaze, so and even surrounded, a bunch of good PvE perks. Now again, this is going to be like a high impact frame fusion, so I'm not really sure if you're using it for ad clear too much, but you do have things like Discord, pairing that destabilizing rounds. This could be pretty fun. I don't think it's anything too crazy, but obviously you could also pair that with things like frenzy and swords. For pure damage, I mean, you have things like enlighten action to build reload speed up. If you are doing a bunch of damage, you could pair that with control burst as well. That could be very, very good. Even surrounded, if that's really your thing. I mean, you have the classic combo destabilize or pulse race, but I mean, primary weapons get this, so it's not like that big of a deal. Attrition orbs and control burst could be interesting because you are going to be able to make orbs and get that increased damage, but the magazine's like so low on it. There's no way to increase the magazine size over here, so I'm not like 100% sure if I'm really going to use this thing for PvE too much, especially when you have things like Riptide and just other fusion rifles that are also very, very good now. So like, yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I mean, withering gaze, attrition orbs could be decent for like a utility-based gun or also repulsor brace as well. It's cool. It's cool for PvE. I'm not really going to be using it that much, though, or really looking out for it, I guess. For PvP, though, you have things like Lone Wolf, you have Cornered, which I guess is cool. Lone Wolf probably being the better option, and Closing Time probably being your best option. I think this could be very, very solid for PvP. Just a high-impact Frigate Fusion with two really good perks here, and it is a Shuro's weapon. A Shuro's weapons notoriously are just, like, really good. They just feel good for hitting targets, in my opinion, in PvP, so I'm sure this is going to have some secret sauce under it to do the same thing, and that combo could be very, very solid. It's definitely one I'm going to be looking out for. Now, moving on to the final set of weapons, I think these are just going to come from like Call to Arms or Arms Week of the sort. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that's where we're going to see them at. But first off, we have the action item. This is going to be a Stasis Adaptive Frame Trace Rifle. In the first column, you have things like Rhyme Stealer, Rewind Rounds, Deconstruct Maybe, Envious Assassin, Demolitionist. And then the next column, you have things like Crystalline Corpse Bloom, Detonator Beam, Target Lock, Headstone, Killing Tally, Elemental Hornet. Honestly, a bunch of good decent perks. Only problem is most people aren't using trace rifles for like ad clear. They're mostly just using them for pure utility, things like Cenotaph or Shoot to Loot. But I mean, it does have decent perks though. I mean, Crystalline Quartz Loom, Rhyme Stealer is obviously a decent combo. Even Headstone, Rhyme Stealer, obviously is also very, very good. Envious, I guess you could just overflow the magazine like crazy and never have to reload, which is cool. You can then pair that maybe with Target Lock, just constantly keep shooting an enemy. With Rewind, obviously you could do the same thing. Detonator Beam, again, is decent. Maybe if you're just trying to, you know, mark enemies with Cenotaph, blow them up, never have to worry about reloading, that could be a pretty solid combo. It's just, there's just better trace rifles out for trying to do stuff like that. And again, I don't think anyone's trying to use a trace rifle for damage or ad clear, if I'm being completely real. Now for PvP, you have things like Dynamic Sway, which I guess is cool. High impact reserves, which could be pretty interesting. Pairing that with like Target Lock, maybe that could just do a crazy amount of damage and just nuke somebody. You could also pair like Binary Orbit as well, just to like swap to it, get some crazy damage, which is cool. But I mean, overall, like, it's a trace rifle. Like, we have a bunch in the game. I don't think this stands out really by any means. Again, like, you do have Envious, Kill and Tally, stuff like that, Elemental Honing, but again, you're not really using it for damage, but cool perk synergies. It's just the fact that the archetype, I feel like it's not like that crazy good, but it mostly is just used for utility. But overall, I mean, maybe this thing comes out the gate and is actually very solid. We'll just have to wait and see. All right, next up is the Micromort rocket launcher, which is an arc precision frame. You have classic perks like Reconstruction in the first column, Envious Arsenal, Clown Cartridge as well. Then in the second column, you have things like Bait and Switch and Bipod being like the only true, I guess, damage perks, with Bipod not being the greatest, Bait and Switch probably being the best here. So, I mean, if you want to go for just like classic rockets, obviously you can go Envious and Bait and Switch, or, you know, you could play into like Reconstruction and have like a swap thing. Like, obviously the tracking rockets are pretty good, like with Izzy swapping when you're back in like the Val days. I don't know if that's coming back or anything, but I mean, that's obviously pretty good. You know, with the rockets, you're doing damage. You're not actually trying to act clear, but I mean, I guess if you are, you can get Volt Shot on this thing. I don't really know why you would want to do so, but maybe like Volt Shot cluster bombs could be crazy for ad clear. But again, like just the classic Reconstruction Bait and Switch, or, you know, Envious Bait and Switch, those are going to probably be your best options if you even want to use the thing to begin with. Now, for PvP, I mean, you do have things like Impulse Amplifier, which is pretty good because it makes the rocket go faster. And then I guess you could pair that with Chaining Reaction to maybe get multi-kills in Crucible. That could be pretty cool. Other than that, though, like, I mean, it's just another rocket. It's kind of like the Cataphract, where like, we've seen stuff like this before. Like, it's not, I don't think it's bad by any means, but I'm just not like excited about it, you know. I mean, it has fun rolls. I mean, maybe even cluster chain reaction for PvE as well for Aeterna could be fun, but like no one's actually going to be seriously using that. Let's be honest here. Next up, we have the Gizmo Weft, which is a very, very interesting name. This is actually going to be a strand micro missile frame. So think like mountaintop, and it actually does go in the mountaintop slot because it's strand, which is cool. But in the first column, I mean, we have things like Envious Arsenal and Slide Shot, Blast Distributor, maybe a next column, Bait and Switch, Elemental Honing, Aggravative Charge, Bipod, Chain Reaction. Honestly, a bunch of good perks on here. So, I mean, you have like Slice and Air Trigger, which I don't think really work too well in the swap. They're kind of the same like Hatchling, but I mean, they are there, which, you know, they're decent PvE perks. But for like DPS rotations, you have Envious Arsenal, you have Bipod if you're trying to shoot 2 of them out. You have like the 3 best damage perks in the game with Bait and Switch, Elemental, and Aggravative. All those are going to be very, very solid. This is going to be a goated just DPS swap weapon. If you're not using it for that, I mean, you have Slot Shot. If you just want to keep shooting it over and over again, that could be very, very fun. If you're just using it for pure movement, you do have Bipod, assuming it won't like reduce the movement you get from it. You could just shoot twice now, which I think a lot of people are honestly going to look out for. If they don't swap it up, if you still get the same movement, Bipod's gonna be very, very good. But even for Aeterna, I mean, Chain Reaction, I guess it's cool, but most people aren't gonna be really using it for that. If Chain Reaction can proc Blast Distributor, maybe you can get 5 stacks very quickly with that. That could be cool. But again, most people are gonna be looking out for Envious Arsenal, pairing that with any 3 of these damage perks right here. And it is going to be pretty goated. And then, again, kind of Bipod for movement tech if it does kind of work out how I think it's going to work out. PvP, though, I mean, if I'm being completely honest here, there's really not a lot. I mean, I guess, like, Slot Shot is cool. I mean, maybe you compare it with Bipod if you still, you know, could get, like, a ton of damage off, but I don't think there's anything like too crazy here for PvP. Now, next up, we have a Void Glaive, which is called the Heron. This has Repellence in Ages, Disruption Break, Repulsor Brace, Lead from Gold, Overflow, Envious, bunch of great perks. You know, Destabilize Rounds, Redirection, I mean, throw Unrelenting in there, I guess, Unstoppable Force, and also Sword Logic for damage perk. I mean, there's obviously some pretty goated options here. I mean, like Repellence in Aegis and Unstoppable Force are just a solid combo on pretty much any glaive in the game. It's going to be very, very good. Overflow, also, you don't have to worry about reloading. Left and gold if you want ammo. You also have like the classic Stabilizer Repulsor Race, trying to get overshields. That could also be pretty good, but I don't really think most people are going to be using like the stabilizing on a glaive for Aeterna. I mean, you also have Envious kind of the same way for overflows, just so you never have to reload the thing. You just keep going for melees. Disruption Break is interesting because I'm pretty sure the orchard trade on this thing is it's just better against shield, so you should be able to take like a shield out and just do a crazy amount of kinetic damage, which is cool. And Redirection, which I guess could also be the fun option. You could basically just stack up a bunch of stacks just on lower tier targets, then do crazy amount of damage on a major target. If this does work with the melee, Redirection may actually be very, very solid on here. I'm not 100% sure if it will or not, but it could be very, very good. Overall, decent glaive perks. This could be very, very solid if you are a glaive enjoyer. And now we have made it to the final weapon, and that is going to be the King Orfeo. Now, this is going to be an arc precision frame bow, so it has competition with something like non-denouement, which I think is like one of the best bows in the game if you are using it specifically for Aeterna. But take a look at its perks. We do have things like Shoot to Loot. We have Archer's Tempo, Explosive Head, Successful Warm-Up. Then the second column, we have things like Dragonfly, Rolling Storm, Mega Neura, maybe Jolty Feedback. I'm not exactly sure how many shots it would take to proc this. If it's like 2, that could actually be pretty good. But overall for PvE, I mean, you have things like Mega Neura and Dragonfly, which I would probably just go with Mega Neura. I mean, maybe Dragonfly is a little better because you don't have to build up stacks since it is a bow, it's going to shoot slow. But you can pair that with things like Shoot to Loot to pick all the ammo up. You know, Archer's Tempo, just like a classic combo, just explosions, shoot very quick. But you also have Explosive Head, so, you know, very, very solid perk as well, pairing that with explosions, because that's a warm-up if you're just trying to shoot it fast. You also have like Pugilist and Swashbuckler if you go for like a melee build with the bow, which could be pretty interesting. I don't think anyone's really doing that, but that is cool if that is something you're trying to do. I think Jolting Feedback with like Arch Tempo could be very solid if it only takes like 2 shots for a bow to proc this. We'll have to kind of wait and see. I think that could be very solid for like harder in-game content. But again, I'm not 100% sure how that's going to work, but that could be very, very good if it does work with just like 2 bow shots. I guess you also do have Precision Instrument and harder content if you are just like really trying to just stack up a bunch of primary damage, but let's be honest, I don't think really most people are doing that. Now for PvP, you have things like Surplus, you have Archer's Tempo, you have Successful Warm-Up, Impulse Amplifier, and then in the next column, you have things like Rangefinder honestly probably be your best bet. I mean, I guess precision instrument, but you don't really need that on a bow. I'm not the biggest bow user in PvP, but like probably the best perk combination is probably like Arch Tempo Rangefinder, because Rangefinder will actually give like the increased velocity. I guess you could pair that with Impulse, so you just have like insane velocity on the arrow. Maybe it'll just make it like a hit scan. That would be pretty cool. I doubt it's going to be like anything too crazy, and most people probably going to go for the draw time anyway. But overall, I mean, it is a pretty solid bow. I don't think it's going to replace non-denouement by any means, but I mean, what I'm definitely looking out for is like Arch Tempo's jolting feedback, just to see how that performs. But that is going to do it all for me. I have been recording for about 2 hours to get all these weapons compiled into one video for you, just so you have a reference point if you want to go farm for something. I really hope this all helped you out, and I really hope you all enjoyed. Let me know what weapons you all are most excited for down in the comments below. And of course, if you made it this far in the video, I truly appreciate it. I highly doubt anyone has even made it this far, but if you did, drop something down below to let me know as well. But I will be posting the other seasonal event weapons and dungeon weapons once they are coming out. But I think that is going to do it all for me. I'm not going to make this outro extremely long because I need to go rest my voice down, also edit this video. But with all that being said, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all have a great day. Peace.